topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Are you ready to take a journey? Let's connect with the healers of the world. It's that time. It's time for the Language of Healing on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Now here's your host, Emotional Wisdom Training Specialist Nicole Fortin.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Language of Healing. Happy Friday. I hope you've had a good week and gearing up for a nice long weekend in the US and in Canada. We just had our holiday yesterday. So today we're talking about awakening the healer within. And so what might the healer within mean to you? And we're going to be speaking with a great guest today, Dr. Rob Clarke, who's going to share about what that means and how we can awaken the healer within, because we all are born with this innate ability to heal. You know, like I've said before, I love, the analogy that our bodies, excuse me, are a machine, a very intelligent and vast. It's so difficult to really grasp every aspect of our being and what we're made of, what we're capable of, what's possible for us, how we can really tap into and train some of those skills that might be a little bit quiet. Like intuition, for example, is something that we all have, and it's really about training it. And you may hear the different kinds of intuition, like some people hear things or just know things, or they're really feelers. They'll feel what's going on. And so, it's about turning the dials up a little bit because they're there. It's just like how much are we listening to them or tuning into it? And are we using that to our advantage? So this is a great topic today. I'm very excited to talk about awakening the healer within. And so our guest today is someone I've known for a very long time, a good friend and amazing practitioner. I've seen him for treatments and have done some workshops. We actually traveled to Mexico together for some work. And Dr. Rob Clarke, he is a doctor of chiropractic, and he practices Network Spinal Analysis, which is a branch of chiropractic that he will likely share more with us about. He's trained in massage therapy and has trained with Indigenous healers, elders, for over 20 years. So let's welcome our guest for today, Dr. Rob.
Hi there, Nikki.
Hi. Hey, thanks for joining us.
Nice
so what's kind of got you juiced up about? Well, I'm curious to know actually what got you into chiropractic, what got you into the healing arts, so to speak.
Well, I received chiropractic, actually, to be a little bit personal. I got helped by a chiropractor when I was young. I was a bedwetter. Now, that's not something I tell most people, but I guess I've told the world now by telling you. And after many things, putting phone books underneath the foot of my bed and different things, restricting water intake, I went to a chiropractor, and that helped me get rid of that problem. So I was very grateful to chiropractic at a very young age to be able to leave that behind. And then when I went on to school, I lived in Banff, and I lived to ski, and I was a bartender, but I wanted to do something more than that. So I went to school to be a massage therapist first, to be able to ski and live a good life and do that world. And then I got fascinated more about human health and healing, and a lot of my instructors were chiropractors at massage school. So then I decided to go back to school and go to university, and then go to chiropractic college. And along the way, I just really got excited by the philosophy of chiropractic. the body's ability to heal from within, the inside, above, down, inside out. That's been a mantra of chiropractic ever since it started over 100 years ago. So it's really
right. And so where did you study chiropractic?
In Toronto, Canadian Memorial Chiropractic College.
Okay.
Which is a very orthopedically minded school, and it's a great school for academics. But it didn't really teach me the philosophy I was looking for, because I like the Palmer's teachings. The founder of chiropractic is D.D. Palmer, a Canadian, and he said back in 1885, the purpose of the adjustment is connect man the physical with man the spiritual. I thought that was pretty cool. It didn't teach you much of that at school. But
same with traditional Chinese medicine is also quite similar too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I know about chiropractic is that there was D.D. Palmer, and then is it A.J. Stills or something? They were together, blending and like the spirit and the body, but then they kind of separated. So there was, into the osteopathic and chiropractic.
And even chiropractic was split up too into different groups of people who are focusing more towards biomechanics, more towards holistic health. And I'm sort of on the far end of the spectrum with network care, in the fact that, we're on the subluxation energy side of things, but even to the farthest extreme, that we really want to invite the body to make changes instead of trying to implement a change, really create change within the body with very, very little force. We always like to say the body listens to a whisper better than a shout. Just want to do just the right amount of force just to get in there, wake up the body, pay attention. Why hold on to this pattern? How long has it been here? And just give it a little contact, step back and let the body do the work, and let the breath change and the body shift and have it unwind itself. That way the body learns next time that tension comes into your life, because tensions repeat themselves, it has the old strategy of adapting and tightening up, or adapting to shift and move through it. And so we like to turn tension into fuel.
Oh, I like that. Tension into fuel. Yeah, because I've experienced your treatments with Network Spinal Analysis, and it's very subtle. I like that invitation. It really is. It's like a subtle shift or subtle like guidance, and then the body, has to work unwinding. That's how I feel when I'm on your table, is that you just know exactly, like it's like the switch, and then this kinetic chain of unwinding follows it.
Yeah,
that's how I experience that.
Well, cool. Well, that's nice, and that's what we want to do. We want to really invite the body to change and create new patterns. So my phone should start ringing shortly. Sorry about that.
No problem. This is life, right?
Yes, the real world. So it's really fun to watch people's bodies shift and change the table, but more importantly, watch them shift and change their lives. Because if you're held in, like if you think, I always tell people, if you lean your head forward, go do with me, Nick. You lean your head forward, bring your shoulders forward, and just feel this energy in your body, and just say, I'm full of joy and happiness. Well, it just doesn't work. It's like, you come up here, I'm full of joy. Okay, there. So by changing the structure of your body, you actually change how you're interacting in your life. And Donnie Epstein, the developer of Network Chiropractic, the technique that I use, he says the shape, tone, and position of your body represents the shape, tone, and position of your life, which is really true. And I see that every day. If someone comes to the table and they're a different pattern than I usually see, it's okay, what's going on? What's changed? They, how'd you know? Well, it's because your body is showing me different things. The tension is a different place. It's in a different level. Is it in the spine itself? Is it in the muscles? It is in the heel cords. Where are you holding tension? And as I explore your body with some gentle touches, I see, well, something's going on here. And people sometimes think I'm psychic. And well, I'm not really. I'm intuitive. And certainly I listen to the body's messages. But really, it's pretty obvious. If you see someone coming into the body and it's walking like this, okay, something's out of balance in someone's life if they're like that. Well, I lifted something. Well, you've lifted thousands of things in your life. What was going different in your life now that created this tension pattern? And so it's fun to watch people unwind physically and in their lives to do different things. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and wonderful to see that the cohesiveness between the two, like the mind and body, because it's such an elusive, and we get into this a little bit too with like the quantum physics world and how it's still a bit of like this quackery pseudoscience, but like misunderstood, right? There's so much mystery to it. And how does the mind and the body really connect, and the spirit, right? Like how do they all work?
For sure.
Together. But it's beautiful when you see it,
Yeah, when you see it unfolding, it's magic, And sometimes just the subtlest change makes such a profound change in someone's life, and that's really magic. And when a lot of people do mind-body medicine, do meditation, do yoga, do visualizations, and we should all do that because that's feeding good information to the mind, to the body. And what I do is body-mind. So let's get your body talking differently to your mind, because like I said, if you have that contracted position or whatever it might be, and you're trying to visualize or create a different middle image, is next to impossible. So we're trying to complete that loop. So continue to do all your positive mind images and exercises, but add in that body-mind connection, and then get the whole loop happening. Then all sorts of things happen. And as we work more and more with people now, we've been working with the bound energy in the body for years and having that create changes in the body. And now we're trying to bring the energy of the field into the body more. So it really steps into that quantum world you're talking about. So we there's a field around all of us all the time, of course, and we're interacting with that field. And so rather than trying to work the bound energy of the body, which takes a lot of effort to move, work with the energy of the field, and it's real easy to move because it's just energy.
So how might we bring the field into the body?
Well, for me, it's seeing where you're at and looking for the easiest way in. So what's your body telling me? Is your upper mind awake and alert and ready to participate? Is it your lower mind? Is it more your soul piece that's awakened, or is it your emotional piece, your reactor, or is it your survivor? Whatever. In a lot of techniques, we go where the challenge is and look for that. I look for where's the ease. What's the axis in? What fields within you are talking already? And then using those and calling those in. So as I'm saying to myself, oh, if you're on the table and I say, oh, your upper mental field is really active, and oh, that's good. It wants to participate, okay? And the emotional field is there too. So let's get those two talking to each other. So I just start holding that in my consciousness. Okay, I want her upper mind and her emotion field to talk. And I do that within the depth of the contact I make too, because if I go into the body and I go a little bit deeper, I go into the emotion, you go through the life force, the emotional, the mental, and all through the fields of the body, and then get them to talk just gently to each other. And also calling them by name. So in my own mind, or even out loud sometimes, I want we call your upper mind your optimizer, and your emotional field your reactor. So I want those to talk to each other and just invite them into the conversation. And just by gentle contacts, by inviting that upper mental and that emotional all of a sudden they start talking, the energy fuels. And as they start to dance with each other, all the other fields start to participate in, because we're all naturally entrained to each other. That's what what we do is an entrainment instead of adjustment, because adjustment is moving bones. It's good. I've done that myself. I had relief that way myself. But when we're in training, we're synchronizing patterns.
Like pulling like a thread of fabric. That's how I
thread from one to the other. Exactly.
I'm such a visual person. So I when we're talking about these vast, energetic, really out of the physical realm things, I like to paint a picture in my mind. Like, so how do you see these different, like the upper mind and the lower mind, and like, are they sections, or are they like layers around us?
Both. There's layers around us, and then there's layers within us, because everything that happens outside of us happens within us. So like you can come from outside of the body in and feel where the body responds more, or you can go into the body and just gently touch the body and slowly let your fingers go into the tissues, and at certain levels it really bounces back, and others it melts in through. And so by that it tells you, and it takes practice, of course, but we all have that ability. Once you just practice feeling, it's there all the time, and you can start to really experience that. And then that's when you get that quantum entanglement happening. So my energetic field obviously is here doing its own thing, and I'm holding a consciousness for the person on the table and how I want their fields to talk, and how I want the integration of the oscillation of the vertebrae, and how I want to see the breath expand, and I'm holding that, my intention. And then when I do a contact on them, I'm connecting their energetic field, and that quantum entanglement starts to allow the opening of potential. And I like to use a sort of visual for myself. The person and the world around them is like a three-dimensional spider web. And so wherever that field is accessible, I go into that field and that body, and I just do a little contact. And by that one little tug of that one little string of that energetic spider web, everything in the field changes. And so it's really fun. A patient of mine said, it's kind of like I'm a giant guitar musical instrument. You're just fine tuning me, and that's kind of what it's like. It's like just a little tweak here, a little tweak there, and all of a sudden, the whole tone of the system. Oh, that sounds so much better when you tune an instrument properly. Right. So we're just trying to fine tune those energetic fields within you, and we all get stuck in patterns. We're humans.
Yeah. Well, it's so natural. Yeah, I just love that. It reminds me, like, because when our spine is aligned and tall and unobstructed, it's like our antenna. We can receive. We are open and we're receptive. And then I heard this wonderful kind of analogy from a mentor once, that the heart is like the drum, right?
Yeah.
And then the ribs are like the, I don't know, amplifier, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we have our, humerus dividing into like radius and ulna. So it's like a tuning fork on the arm, and then the femur, and then the tibia fibula, like on the bottom. So our legs and arms are tuning forks. So we've got full alignment of the spine.
Oh, right. Yeah. Whole resonance
Sorry, it's
there,
just
for
such
sure.
I love that, like a guitar, fine tuning that. Yeah. So I have a I have a question for you that came up
Go ahead.
as you're talking. What's the difference between entanglement and entrainment?
Well, entanglement is between two different entities. So when I come to you, we're having a quantum entanglement as we work together. The entrainment happens within you. So your own synchronizing the patterns. So, and the term entrainment it's an old German clockmaker's term, because pendulum clocks always synchronize when on the same wall. And so they used that, hundreds of years ago, but now it's come back in the new age world. But it's the same thing. It's like the natural synchronizing of rhythms. And so all of our systems of their body, they have different frequencies, but they should be dancing together in a beautiful symphony. And when we're stressed and we're hurt and we're damaged in whatever way, our bound energy gets locked in, and we can't, those little frequencies all get off kilter, and you can't get synchronization of them. So with an entrainment, we're synchronizing the rhythms of your body. The quantum entanglements, when I come in and do a small intervention to help my field influence your field, to help you, express that more natural version of yourself.
So entanglement is almost like us in relation to others, or versus entrainment is the symphony that is inside of our body.
Yeah,
orchestrating that. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Because I've heard of this or entanglement, right? Like, and you just think of like everything tangled, like a mess, like scar tissue that's just laid down.
Yeah.
And maybe, we can get so entangled with like society or how we were brought up, and then so we develop these like postures or beliefs, or
we get entangled in bound energy. It's like we just layer up and protect. And you were talking about the heart earlier, and that's so key. We want the spine and the heart rhythms to be naturally synchronizing with each other. That's one of the things we're looking for with network care. And in kids, they do naturally, in pets, they do. But in adults, we get so busy in our lives, and we get all these layers of patterns and bound up, that we're in survival mode and we're contracted. And from there, you can't access that bigger field. It's just, it doesn't work. Kind of like our exercise, you can't access it.
Sorry, I keep cutting you off because this is so interesting to me that I have all these questions running through my mind. Because, so when a baby is born, like they breathe from top of head to bottom of spine, right?
Yeah.
Fully open, and like heart, everything is synchronized well. And then we get over time like bound and stuck in our spine, so our breathing isn't free flow. So if we are bound like that, are there other levels that we cannot access?
Oh, for sure.
Are there?
Yeah, the potential gets narrower and narrower the more bound we are. So you can talk to someone who's in survival mode because they've had a stressful life, or maybe the society is right now from the last year and a half we've had. The whole society's contracted almost, and so to ask someone to be open up to their full potential is next to impossible until you can find that ease. And that's one of the things we look for called a respiratory wave, that just like you're saying with babies, the breath that goes tailbone to skull. When we see that, then we know the nervous system is then relaxed, and then it can learn, then it can actually participate in the entrainment and that quantum entanglement much more effectively. Because if their breath is between their shoulder blades and they're just breathing to survive, which many of us have done, and survival is okay in the short term, but not good in the long term. And so, so we want to allow that breath to expand. So it's great when people have little toddlers in their house and babies, because they have that, or memories of them, even if you had them 100 years ago, because then it's just that visualization of a small child or baby fully opening up with every breath and relaxing. That's a full human expression breath. We know that when that happens, the parasympathetic system is activated. And then, the whole nervous system can go into healing. Simply by breathing full spine, you can shift from survival into thriving. Amazing.
It's so easy because we get so caught up in like having a good health and, take care of our diet, go to the gym, do your meditations, but when that all doesn't work, when you're still stuck. It's a frustrating place to be, because it's like, oh, I'm going to see my chiro, I'm going to see my acupuncturist, I'm change my diet, like all that stuff helps. But I almost argue that that's like the ultimate key. It's like it's almost, I mean, obviously plays part of it, but if you were just this open channel, like tapping into your inner, like the healer within all the time. I mean, I know there's a place for guidance and like, trained professionals. There's no question about that. But I think when I see people focusing, like some patients focusing so much on some of these, channels, but not, do you know what I mean? Like, not like,
yeah, for sure. They've given themselves, they've got the right recipe, they've got the right piece, they've got a good, if you call it like a recipe, they've got good nutrition, they're exercising, they've got this, they've got these pieces in place, but they haven't learned how to put the recipe together properly. And if you're in a bound energy, it's hard to do that. So if you can just start to, allow those systems to start to talk to each other, let that nutrition to take its place, allow the sympathetic system to do its job and parasympathetic to relax, and all of a sudden all the systems start to engage, then everything you do is that much more effective. It magnifies it multiple times. It's not like you get a little bit more, you get it's exponential, the amount of increase that happens in someone's potential as soon as those things start to talk to each other.
Yeah, I think that's where, I was kind of going, like trying to say with that is that, when that's open, everything else that you're doing is exponentially better.
Yeah.
So you help support people in unbinding that energy.
For sure. We do it with the entrainments we do, and we also do it with our SRI exercises, our 12 stages of healing exercises.
The 12 stages of healing. If I may, just real quick for our watcher viewers, we've got the 12 stages of healing by
Donnie Epstein.
Donnie Epstein.
Or Donald Epstein, formal.
Great. Anyway, so this is a book that's talking about the 12 stages of healing that you incorporate into your work. And might you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, and I do workshops for those in my office, and I do full day workshops as well with those, because they're so key. Because when you know the 12 stages exercise, there's 12 exercises for those 12 stages of healing, hands-on breathing exercises. And they start with the first 3 stages are discovery exercises. Suffering, we've all done that. We disconnect, and when you just disconnect, you suffer. So it helps us connect to that part of ourselves that did that. And then there's polarity, which is a little more energy, but not as, and then where you're looking to other people to fix you, or other people to solve the problems, or other people their problems. And then polarity comes in. So we do an exercise to check in with that part. And then there's the stuck part of ourselves. We all want to make changes, but we tend to loop through the same patterns. That means you're stuck in a pattern. And so that's those first 3 stages, suffering, polarity, and stuckness. That's the discover portion of the 12 stages. And the middle portion is transform. You take back your power. You say, enough of this, enough of that. I'm going to do things differently. And you start to see the illusions of your life and how we all have roles we play. And we need roles in our society, but the roles aren't necessarily our soul expression. You want to make sure your roles and your soul are matched with each other. So in transform, you start to drop those masks. And that's what we call it in shamanic work, dropping the masks that you wear all the time, those roles, and just be your authentic soul self. And then you build up energy, and then you do a resolution where you let go. Because again, we humans really attach to our stuff in the world. And one of the best, I'm sure you've lived this a little bit, just letting go of your stuff is so liberating.
Well, I mean, I'm in the middle of moving house right now. And it's like, I'm literally, okay, look at all of this stuff. Oh my God, that I have to like move around with me. It's amazing how much.
It's a critical healing place. Letting go. It's like once you let go, it's like, wow, look at the potential there. And that's what. Then you naturally go to awaken energy, which is the upper stages, where you feel the potential of all things. You feel gratitude and love, and you feel connectedness to the universe. You start to experience that divine aspect of yourself, and then you bring that into your life, and you start sharing that in community. And that's what all the stages allow us to experience those different pieces of it, because we all go through those. Well, moments. Moving, purging. We've all had moments where we took apart our power. We've also had moments where we're suffering, like, oh, poor me, and no, someone's got to fix this. This is my problem. We've all been through all these stages of our lives. But when you start recognizing them as the 12 stages, and you start to do the exercises that match you to them, then you start flowing through life more easily. And that's what we do in our bigger workshops. Awakening the Healer Within is all about not only knowing the stages, knowing how your triad of change works. We all tend to use behavior, perception, or structure in different ways in our lives. And if you understand
you said the triad of change?
Triad of change, yeah.
Triad of change,
yeah.
Which was again?
Perception, behavior, and structure. We all use those in our lives. And sometimes we've learned a way to do it, and that's okay. But one of them is more authentically us. For me, I lead with structure, then move into perception, behavior, and then follow up with perception. Other people are opposite. So I have to put a little bit of structure into my life to get things rolling. If I try to go with perception, how does it feel? That's great, and it's nice, but I don't get much done. So for me, my triad leads with structure, but someone else might lead with perception or with behavior. So it's going to getting to know that about yourself a little bit and seeing how it works in your life. And also, are you more internal or external? And that's not extrovert and introvert. It's just how does the energy flow through you? Some people flow from the future and to the future, and some people flow more from the past. There's no right or wrong, but understanding that about yourself and how it works for you allows you to be more naturally flowing within your own rhythms. And so if you know these things about yourself, life gets easier. It's like you can flow with a stream or you can try to swim upstream. Well, swimming upstream is hard work. And if you're in your bound energy and you're locked in and you're not, contractions within your body and in your life, you work really hard, but you're not getting much progress. Once you start knowing yourself and you start finding the ease and the flow, it's like, oh, I'm doing things, but it's actually productive. I'm making progress. I'm moving forward. And so we want to help people find that natural flow for them, whatever that may be. And it's different for everyone.
Mm-hmm. So we have the 12 stages of healing. That we have the discovery, and then the transformation, and then is the change
awaken is the next,
awaken.
And then if you want to get to the place where we integrate those, because we're not always just in one or the other. One day we might go through all three of those different seasons. We call them: discover, transform, awaken, integrate. And so you might want to bring a little bit of transform into your discover, a little awaken into your discover, awaken into transform. Just once you get to know them, you can start to play with them a little bit. We teach them in a sequence 1 through 12, the 12 stages, but they don't happen in your life that way necessarily. But just like in music, if you're playing, you learn the scales first, right? Once you know the notes, then you can make some crazy music. So we teach you these pieces, and then you can start to playing with them in your life to create more orchestra in your life, more harmony.
Right. And with all of these like fields that we have or layers, I imagine that each one might be at a different stage of healing.
For sure.
So there's, I mean, I can see this like it comes up for me too with traditional Chinese medicine, because our method of diagnosis is like largely on the pulse and the tongue, and of course, pattern differential, but with the pulse, there's like 5 layers, one for each element, 5 elements. But you go deeper and you really are looking for how are they all interacting together. Well, like 3 positions times 5 layers. There's a lot of things to read.
The variations become numerous very fast. Yes. And then you get those start to talk to each other, and then it all starts to flow better. And you always deal with the lowest common denominator. If one of them is, if you have all your levels are up here except for one, the one is going to drag the other ones all down. So whatever is the one that's not functioning best is the one you want to work with to bring it back. That's why we got to own the stage you're in. Some people, let's face it, suffering's no fun. But if you ignore it, it's just going to hide under the surface and undermine the rest of the work you're doing. But if you own the suffering and realize, oh, I've disconnected. There was purpose with that. I disconnected because I had to survive that part of my life, whatever that was, last week, last year, or a decade ago. So it was useful in this moment, but you carried it on too long. So once you own that suffering part, that disconnected piece, the breath comes bigger, and all of a sudden, oh, now I can move on to another piece. But if you always try to ignore that, it's always going to be, undermining the other healing work that you do.
Right. So when it comes to suffering, I think this is a interesting topic, because I mean, it's just one of the 12, right? That we can all relate. Like how this might create these obviously stuck, if we suppress it or hide it somewhere in our body, right? To be later discovered and then boom. Where was I going with that? I don't know. But when how might someone really own that suffering? Because sometimes it is heavy. Sometimes it's like life isn't fair. Like there's all these things. But I mean, the resistance to it is worse than the surrender or the acceptance.
Yeah. The acceptance. And we talk about being aware of it first, acknowledge it, and then accept it. That's the 3 keys that we use. AAA. Be aware of it, acknowledge it, and accept it. So when we're doing the exercise, we find it. Where in our body is that disconnection? Okay, it's right here. I'll do it here because it's easier for you to see. So if I found a spot here that was disconnected, I would make declarations like, and I tried to do them in a neutral way, and we've designed them this way specifically. Sometimes I feel disconnected. Sometimes it feels like nothing works. Sometimes I feel helpless. And just by the vibration of your words and your hands and the body, it's like that part of the body goes, oh, finally. They looked at me. They paid attention to me. They stopped brushing me under the carpet, so to speak. And so it's like then the breath expands. You go, there, okay. Oh, now you can move on. You've been aware of it. You've acknowledged it, and you've accepted it. Now it no longer has control. It's just a story that you lived and you survived through. So now you can move on. So it's giving it a voice is what you want to do.
Mm-hmm. I like that because we can really talk to our bodies and all parts of us. Because we might know that it's there. We might know that suffering's there, but it's different when the intention is around like seeing it, like awareness, acknowledging it, and then you're kind of you're almost inviting it in, like it's okay,
Yeah, exactly.
We can get through this together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I got you. I got your back. We made it through that. Good for you. And good on you.
Yeah. And what do you think? What do you think then? Because I think these are like part of our responses or trained reactions that maybe we acquired when we were young, like children, right? So there's like the inner child that, I find that it will come up when when you're really expanding or things are really difficult, it's like that inner child part of you that isn't the wise, adult energy is
for sure.
Throwing a little tantrum or something, but it's like just acknowledging. It's like maybe it is like a kid. It's like give it attention,
very much like a kid. And we talked in stage 2. The way we start stage 2 is acknowledging our young self. So for me, I say, "Speak up, Bobby, speak up," because I want that young version of me, because I was Bobby when I was growing up, to be part of the exercise. Because otherwise, the foundation isn't right. So you speak to that young version of yourself that was in life and had challenges and had to learn some things. And so you speak to that part of yourself. So in stage 2 and in 3, we actually invite that young part of your psyche, your spirit into the exercise, because that's where you get the biggest results. Because then the foundation shifts. And once the foundation shifts, everything on top of it changes, which is beautiful.
Yeah. As you're talking about foundation, I'm just like, what's coming to mind is teeth, when like, because we maybe are essentially two entities in like, well, one, but that has transformed. But I think this symbology of like losing your baby teeth, and then having like your adult teeth grow in.
Yeah.
Like maybe that's the only thing that really like we shed, that like from.
Yeah, it's true. We carry a lot of stuff through our lives, and we don't need to.
Right.
Well, how does it feel? I'm sure moving, you've got rid of lots of stuff, right?
Well, to be honest, I just like put it all in a box, and I'm like, I will deal with that later. And then but there was one couch that my sister was helping us move yesterday, and she just like was like, get rid of it, dump, like it won't fit in the house, just dump it, and I'm like, yeah, okay. Like, I mean, I'm okay with like letting go, right? But I think what I like maybe there's too much of the busyness or distraction, it's almost like easier just to shove it in a box, not look at it. And then to later rediscover it. Like, I know this is adding more work to myself, and like, I'm owning it. I'm owning my mess.
Well, we all have them for sure. We all have our messes. Well,
but you do like you revisit things, and you're like, do I really need that?
I'll tell you a story. My sister moved many years ago. And of course, when you move, there's stuff gets thrown in boxes. And there's these 6 boxes were in the back of her closet for 20 years. And she saw them. Stuff had come in and out of the front of the closet, but she eventually, there's these boxes there. She didn't open them. She sent them to the thrift store. Because if I haven't used it in 20 years, I obviously don't need it.
Right. Yeah.
So she sent them off.
I mean, what really do we need?
Yeah.
Right?
I had another friend of mine. He when he was a teenager, his mother passed, and one of the things he got was her silverware, and he kept it. And this man is in his 60s now. He'd kept that silverware and never used it for almost 50 years. And finally, after talking about letting go and doing some purging, he just gave it away. It's like, well, that silverware wasn't serving him in any way. It was actually an anchor to his past, and it wasn't really working for him in any way. So out it went. So it's amazing what we hold on to. It seems important. Seemed important to him. Obviously, he held on to it for 45 years. It's a long time.
Right.
Well,
when it's out of sight,
What's
like
that?
you don't even you forget that it's even there, right?
Yeah.
Like you're just not using it. It's just takes up that space in the corner or like under in that closet kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, the whole Marie Kondo phase where everyone was,
what brings you joy?
It was a cute TV show, but it's actually really good exercise to go through. Does this bring me joy and happiness? Okay. Not really. Okay, then I can let go of it.
Okay, here's the thing. I'm going to use myself as an example because, I went traveling. I spent a year like in the Oceania area, and I did purge a lot of stuff, then. Yeah. And when I came back, then even more stuff. And there were these, and I was really into the Marie Kondo. I was like, hey, everything that I'm keeping is going to spark joy, and it's going to have a home, and it's like organized. And I donated a lot of books, and books are like I love books, but they're heavy. They're like, they take up a lot of space. Anyway, so I donated them. But like, sometimes I think about like, oh, I wish I had that book, or now I have to like, I don't know. Can you speak to that? Because it's like, maybe that's part of a small thread that's still attached to that stuff, because what's in that book that I need, that I don't already have, or that I,
books are amazing. And I have been a collector of books for years too. And more recently now, we put 2 years ago, we had a little library put in front of our office, one of those tiny libraries that people put up. And just because of where we're situated, there's lots of traffic. And we've literally put hundreds of books in there. And now over the last few years, and now they're cycling through. And it's amazing to watch. It's become a little hub for the community, our book library. And it just people come and go, and it gets filled up with sometimes cool stuff. I have lots of books on health and healing and mind-body growth and all sorts of things like that. And there's also, Harlequin romances in there, and there's kids' books in there. There's everything, and it cycles through. It's amazing to watch the process. And I remember when I first read the Celestine Prophecy years ago, I just loved the book so much, and then I had a hard time letting go because I wanted to share it. So I just signed my name, and I said, every time you just pass this on and sign your name. So now those books out there, just passing on to different people to create, sharing the wisdom. Like, it's great. If I got inspiration from it, then other people will get inspiration. Sitting on my shelf, it only inspires me, no one else. So I'd rather give it away and have someone else be inspired by that book. So it's sort of something I started many years ago, giving away my treasured books, which was hard, but eventually satisfying.
That's a really cool idea. Like, it's almost like the log of, Rob Clarke has been here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, in many mountains, if you climb, I love the mountains, as you know, I live here. And if you climb a mountain, most mountains have a cairn on the top, and inside the cairn is a log book, and you write your name in it and the date you're on top of that mountain. And it's a way to, sort of just leaving your little impression on there. And so it's like, same thing. It's like, I was here, and this was amazing. Let's find another amazing bit of information.
Yes. Well, that's great. Okay. Personally, I really am happy that we are talking today, because as I'm moving, I get to maybe free up some energy, because I think that stuff also like binds us. It kind of, creates this bound energies. So, okay. So you offer courses on the 12 stages of healing, and you have a program called the Awaken, the Healer Within.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's what I called it. Yes. Yes, that's what do I call it? And it's you need to know your own natural, we'll study a little bit of the 12 stages of healing, but also look, and one of the things that we really pay attention to now is what's the field around you, and we don't really pay attention to it much. But when you think about it, okay, if you think of yourself, Nikki, right now, okay, if you think of your parents, where in your field do they fit? Do they fit in here? Do they fit out here? Or does it fit there? Is it behind you? You think of your work. Where does your work fit? Where's Nikki the acupuncturist fit? Is she, and we all, and just start paying attention to that, because sometimes there's pieces, and that's one of the things we do in the workshops, is starting to just have you pay attention to the field around them, and sort of have an imaginary grid all around you, and start to say, okay, well, my daughter fits here, and my son's here, and okay, and where does my work fit? Work fits here, money and finances here, okay. Are they congruent? Sometimes you put things, they're overlapping, like, okay, a wound here, there's a wound here from an old business thing that went bad, but my practice is right here. Well, they're too close. So I can make my practice size. So I'm going to move things around in my field. And because it's energetic, you can move it. And so it's cool. You start to play with the field around you and start to be aware of it. And how does it work? And does your energy flow into you or out of you? Does it flow? How to use that triad of change? All these different pieces, which are just concepts, but they're actually just speaking to the field that exists around all of us all the time. And as you each know that field, you start to play with it. And it is really play. It can be a lot of fun. Work now for me is much more fun than it used to be, because I'm playing in the field of all possibilities. It's like, okay, how can I bring this person to a place of more ease in their body? Whether it's, and I can do it now through Zoom too, because I can talk to you and start to listen to your language, look at your body style, and say, okay, because up until now, most of it's been in my office, but now I'm doing it more distance work and just working with you in your own field, your own awareness, and then working with that to help you create, manifest your own inner healing, because we all have amazing healing within me. It goes right down to the foundations of chiropractic that we started with. The power of the way the body heals the body, or from above down, inside out. Those are really tenets of fundamental chiropractic. Which is kind of been lost in the chiropractic world a little bit, so I'm glad it's coming back.
Yeah. I mean, I see it as well with the traditional Chinese medicine, because a lot of it's based on, kind of from that Taoism perspective of observing, really being the observer of the world around you and within you, and how they are interacting together. And then we have, the cycles, like the seasons and the years and our body. That's probably like the 12 stages, of healing. I love how a lot of these these modalities have really common threads, right? Just like different tools.
Yeah. As soon as you start to get to the fundamental levels, they are all the same. Healing.
Yeah.
Actually, when I talk to other people, and the people who really get excited about what I do are people who understand quantum physics. Because, as we move through everything, and one of the things that I do and I teach people to do is to hold multiple perspectives. Because if your linear perspective, it's a very narrow scope of what can happen. But the more perspectives you can hold, the more it opens up to different dimensional fields, and different energetic openings happen. And bundling things together, like emotions. We need emotions to fuel us, to move us forward. So, using one emotion at a time is good, but if you can bundle a few emotions together, even better, to really fuel that energy within you to move forward.
Right. They work as a team.
Yeah, exactly.
So is it, you may or may not know this, I'm trying to remember with the quantum physics and quantum mechanics world, is that where the particle theory comes, where if you split one, and you send one to space and one is still on Earth, that they will respond, at the same time. So nothing is really separate, like there could be, think of how much space and distance is between that.
The spin there always be matched by the spin there. They're always talking to each other. And that's the thing, and we know with people, we're always talking to each other. Our energies influence each other. So on a microscopic level and a subatomic level, it's all happening too. Everything's all in balance,
So the key is, because we're all so unique and playing our own, we have our own frequencies, our own song. It's really about listening and connecting in with your natural rhythms, or the way that you use and express energy.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so if someone wanted to check out more about your course, what are some details?
Well, email me. The email's been going across here. Or visit our website. The website's for my clinic, so certainly you can contact me through the clinic as well. And I can offer 2 programs. One of them is just a sort of a sampler. 40 and special for anyone who connects me through this program is $49, and it takes you a couple of online courses and a couple of consults with me. and we can just get a flavor for it. Say, oh, that's cool. I like this information. But if you want to work directly with me for 3 months, we'll do the same thing. We'll offer some online classes and one-on-one Zoom class talks with me to help you really start to figure out your own, how do you work in the world? And by that, it just creates more ease in your life and in your success, and how you can heal your body, certainly from physical elements, but also how do you move forward in your business? How do you move forward in your relationships? Because those are they all dance together too, right? They're not separate. They all affect each other.
Yeah, wonderful. So that's gateway-wellness-chiro.com, gateway-wellness-chiro.com, and Rob at naked.net.
Yeah, correct. And
Naked.
that's my direct email. So email me directly if you're interested. You want to know more about either of those programs. I made the first one really cheap. Just if people want to sample, they can just come in for $49. You just come in and have a flavor. And if you like it, then you can jump in for a bigger appetite. Yeah,
good. Okay, so sorry, I'll just say, because bare naked, that's like bear, like BEAR.
Yeah, like the animal, yes.
The animal.
Bear is my primary totem. So
it kind of like brings in your shamanic, because you were also very gifted at that, and I know I've experienced some work in workshops with. Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
A transformational agent,
Yeah, it all works together. I consider network chiropractic to be a shamanic form of chiropractic, because it really works with all the elements that exist, and it's working in that natural field of all possibilities. And when you start working there, it's all the same. And the connection to the earth is so important too.
It was really wonderful to speak with you today, and sharing your wisdom and perspectives on these fields, and within us and outside. Any final comments you would like to add for our listeners?
I'd like to say, just really connect to your breath and to the earth. If you have those two fundamental things, barefoot on the earth, lay on the earth, connect to the earth, and breathe, and amazing magic can happen. Then bring an objective observer in to help as a practitioner. Don't be your own practitioner. Have someone to support you, because I can't take care of myself. I have other practitioners taking care of me, and that's what we should all do. We should all have good people in our corner to help guide us on our journey.
Yes, ditto. I have a team that helps support me as well, as I support others, and we support each other. Okay, well, thanks again. Our time is up, so we'll have a good weekend, Rob.
Thank you.
Thanks again. And for our listeners, have a wonderful weekend. And we'll see you next Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern time. And we'll leave you with the question: what will you take with you from this conversation that will support you for the rest of your life?
All right.
Wow, what a show today. And the journey does not stop here. Come travel the world with Nicole every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, as together we become more fluent in the language of healing on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV. See you next week.